Wow. Don't you want to just give Lori the whoop whoop? And Reverend Glenn, I am with you to thrive. Who else is too? Yeah? It's beautiful. Your abundant money. That's what we're talking about today. And I'm so honored that Reverend Jill reached out and that I get to be here with you. I always think it's wonderful to imagine her just not worrying about us at all. You right? And what we're going to be working with today is, well, let's do this. Suzanne read about it and prayed about it. There's abundance. It's limitless, unbounded, infinite, creative potentiality. God, the divine. Yes? And there's money, human life, material needs, has to be dealt with, but it's a place where we can express the divine. Yes? So let's bring them together. And that's what we're up to here with Your Abundant Money as a conversation for a group of people that have already some knowledge and experience about what it means to have a spiritual experience with money. So I really felt into this community is that this is, I'm going to give you a message today that is appropriate for someone who might be newish and feels like I'm just trying to wrap my mind around the idea of a unified spirituality expressing in humanity. And I want to speak to right where this group is, where I feel like it's like, excuse me, these are folks who do $35,000 to $40,000 in unexpected income in a month, and already believe that this is our nature. That's who you are. And what I want to say is that the call to live the ideas of abundance is essential in today's world. So right now, we're spiritual beings living in a world that has a lot of fear in it. And I think we've got an image here of what the world feels like. This is the earth tightening its belt. And this is the consciousness that we sometimes bump up against, which is people afraid in a democratic society about voting and systems and the 1% and the 99, and a lot of fear and anger coming at each other. A lot of it has to do with scarcity and the idea that there's not enough, or that one group's right and the other group's wrong. We're also in a world with 7 billion people. Some of us are, my biggest problems these days are the Wi-Fi on planes is very spotty. I mean, it's true, is it not? But that's actually like something that bothers me. And there's 1 billion of my brothers and sisters, your brothers and sisters, our brothers and sisters, who are working with like clean water, safe place to sleep, and so their concerns, not that we should feel guilty, but that for those of us that are here with first world problems and the consciousness that we have, it's up to us to say, how can we bring a message that's really an inspiring message to a world that wants us at our best? And when 10 years ago, 10 years ago, I was a minister like a Reverend Jill or Reverend Glenn, who new to being licensed and kind of feeling into what's my place in ministry and would I have my own center. And it became really clear that I love to speak, love to teach, but I didn't have what you see in your ministry staff, which is they really have the feel for creating the community here. I really felt like I want to be out in the world, moving around, sharing the good. And it was like this moment where I said, well, what would be my message to bring forward? And as simple as this. Let's see. I love God. I love money stuff. Let's see how they go together. So not that, my visioning was really just, let's bring together things that I find complementary. And this was back, think about it, 2005 and 6, where in the spiritual community, what I noticed is deep desire for abundance, the mystical nature of the invisible, you know, connection with the divine. And then I'd go to those wealth building workshops, and it was all like tactics and strategies. We all have a millionaire mind. We're going to do, you know, all of us are going to have like residential real estate investment properties, and then have a couple of direct marketing things and tax liens. We're, you know, like strategy. Was it just me? Was I the only one going to those workshops? Or, okay. Yeah, like we were all. So, and what I noticed was there's nothing wrong with strategies, tactics, mindset, but there was missing like a mystical nature. And there's nothing wrong with being in the mystical vibration of consciousness, but there was also a need for practice. That includes the spiritual, the beliefs, and the habits, all three. Because what I find is putting all three together, that's often like the way that people really prosper. And what I also noticed is that there's an idea that I want us to dissolve together, and that really has been happening over all the time that I've been with people throughout the world, is that there's an idea sometimes that we think the rich, well, they're greedy, and they should probably be resented somehow. And I would say that for many of us, we don't think we have that thought, but just look at, there's a really interesting thing even in our social media and kind of entertainment and celebrity world, is like, in some ways we glamorize riches, but then we also have a way of like tearing down people who are successful, like the sort of a subtle thing that can happen. So I would say, look even in anywhere in your consciousness, if there's a place where you want to dissolve any sense of resentment or judgment about those you would call the rich. Simultaneously, there's an idea sometimes that the poor, well, they're needy and they should be pitied or somehow caretaken. But notice how that also is another way of saying it's separate or different from me. I think it's a really beautiful thing to say either place could be me. Either place, it is me because of our oneness. And that's really what, in many ways, like your outreach activities that you're doing here, one of the most beautiful things you can do is if you help someone, that you are literally helping them with their material needs, that you're seeing their divinity as you do it. So that's, I think, the call for all of us, is to take, you know, the level one of a prosperity message in a spiritual center is, I'm freaking out. How can I get more comfortable by believing that God is here while I have problems? Like, let me get comfortable. The next level is like, let me be in a community where I feel good being here in a room where I can feel kind of good and I can feel sort of safe, and it's like a consciousness club. I feel good. The next level, where I think this group really is let me so practice these principles that it makes a difference to the whole. Yeah. And that I think takes a lot of courage. Are you up for that? Yes, you are. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to say, like, all right, let's just take a look at money. What is money? If we're going to have abundant money. So money, we sometimes think of money being a thing outside of us that has some kind of power over our happiness. Like, that's a common idea. Like, money is a thing that either is, like, I worked with this one gal, she said, well, I sort of think that the money system is somewhat polluted, so I try to keep my vibration away from that polluting energy. And the way it had shown up in her life is she had, you know, unfiled tax returns, kind of a mess of couldn't quite get to the data that she needed, and she never really had like the kind of organized finances that could fund her and move her forward. And when she realized, look at me, I'm a spiritual teacher saying something's polluted, and instead she said, I'm going to take my pristine vibration and I'm going to bless the money that I work with in my life and include it in my vibration. And pretty immediately, you know, she's now a very well-known global reach Course in Miracles. You know, she does a bunch of stuff that's much bigger than she ever could have been because she's not leaving anything outside. So here's the thing with money. What if money was just a neutral substance and it didn't mean anything except for the meaning we put upon it? And that idea that we're the meaning makers with our money was just one of the early ideas that I've seen people really benefit when they understand. We give money the power to bring overwhelming peace or utter chaos to our lives. The green paper, the metal discs, the digits on the screen have only the power and meaning we assign them. Only the power and meaning we assign them. So think about your life. Where do you have a material thing where you know that it has a spiritual reality and you can see it? So for example, there are people who, when they look at a work of art, they can absolutely see, yes, this is paint on a canvas, but what it really is God speaking, through the artist and through this image. Like people who really respond to the art as like, this is an expression of the divine. There are others who, their animal companions are, that's how I know there's a God. Other people will say, like all your messages this month, they'll say, you know what, when it comes to friendships, I feel so abundant with my friendships. I feel like I'll always have enough friends. Some come and some go, but I don't sit up at night worrying, will I have friends tomorrow? I just trust that God shows up as friendships and there's plenty. So right now, think about your own life. Where do you feel the presence of the divine? Where do you already feel prosperous? And how can you bring that wisdom into money? So if somebody's got an area, we'll do a little interaction here. Somebody just call it out. Like, is it friendship or family? Lori says family. Look at them. Yeah, but families are great. It's like I can feel abundance and God flowing through family. Nature, thank you. Yeah. So sometimes it's like, you look at, who cannot look at Camelback Mountain and just go like, oh, I see the divine. If you can do it, this I think is like the use of what's called mental equivalent, the idea that I have a high level of sense of connection and consciousness in one area, let me bring it to another. So with money, go ahead and say, I'm the meaning maker with my money. These digits on the screen, and especially if you really think about us here in First World, like the digits we look at, other places in the world, we would be, royalty with what we have and my, how much I can spend on a cappuccino. Believe me, I can get up there. So if we can say that what we have is plenty, if we can say that the meaning we make about money is that it's a tool for us to express our divinity, we really take some power back. So let's just try this on as an affirmation. I'll say it, you can repeat it. I am the meaning maker with my money.
I am the meaning maker with my money.
Yes, you are. So that's your first kind of like, yes. And then let's really remember who we are, the principle of unity. So this is one of the other big ideas for having an abundant experience with money, is the idea of source and channel. So spiritual source is the infinite intelligence. It's unbounded, it's limitless, and I'm with Glenn. When we know that, we thrive. So spiritual source doesn't change, it always gives, it's always there. Material channels are things like good-looking, generous lovers and great jobs and a real estate portfolio that only goes up and, investment allocations that are just spot on. And material channels are wonderful. So please do not think that I am saying material channels aren't important. I hope you have gorgeous, generous lovers, as many as you need and want, right? So we like our channels. But where we get into trouble, and every one of us knows this, where we get into trouble is where we think the channel brings our security. And I know all of us have been there, where we thought that person or that job or that allocation or that thing or that deal, that was the thing that gave the security to us. Because when we think that, something in us, the infinite soul within us, knows we are amiss and will always be like kind of fighting that idea on top of the fear that it will go away. So that combination of like, I can't lose this job, or I really need this person, or, the market has to be this way. Like that feeling, not only is that feeling off, but something in us knows it's a lie. So I encourage you to look for, if there's any place where there's fear about money, it's almost always a channel problem. It's almost always believing my good is going to come from this channel, instead of understanding God, the divine. That's my source. Now, I'm grateful for channels. I'm a good steward of them. I'm respectful of channels. But I know God is my source. For me, one of the places that this is subtle but important is I always had the idea, like, no matter what happened, I could work hard. Now that, brothers and sisters, is a channel. My hard work and my smarts and my persistence, my skills and my talents, those are all things of this world. They can come and go. So even if we're depending on something like, well, I'll work hard, I like, for me, I've got to go to the place where I say, there is no channel that gives me security. What I can always do is surrender to the divine. Like, that's my place where I've got to work that one kind of subtly. So for all of us, like, just go ahead right now and just kind of like take do a little mental image of like the channels in your life. They're probably awesome. See, look at that, generous, and that's my portfolio. Just kind of like let the channels wash across, right? And bless them all, grateful for them all, and let them fade out just a smidgen, and allow what to shine through to be the spiritual source behind them. And grateful for that, it puts us in a place of surrender as well as a place of gratitude. Yes? Yeah. All right, good. And then, what do you do every week to put this into action? So I'm going to share with you some of the inspirations from my latest work. You always know when an author is evolving when their books get smaller, right? So this is Grow Yourself, Grow Your Wealth. In today's world, people are like, oh, it's bite-sized, okay. So this is all about 2 weekly prosperity practices, Money Monday and Faithful Friday. And what I have discovered with clients and students in the last couple of years is that money momentum is what helps people to make changes in our experience of wealth and money. And money momentum comes from connecting mystical with action. Money Monday, that's your first prosperity practice. Money Monday is the time for giving and focus in your money life. Faithful Friday, which we'll talk about in a moment, is the time for receptivity and faith. So Money Monday is setting aside 10 to 60 minutes, depending on what your life and your business and your money life is like. And on Mondays, we give. And the first thing we do is we give thanks and attention to the money that has already been flowing to us. And we either capture or do our spiritual giving. So if you're already someone who is tithing and doing that here at the center on Sundays, on Mondays what you might do is you might look at the 100% of your receipts and bless yesterday's spiritual giving or tithing, or you might record it or say a little affirmation about it. But on Mondays, the first thing is to give attention to how the money has been flowing in. And then what people find very helpful is on Mondays, you take a look at what's my big goals and purpose with money. So for many people, they want to grow a retirement or next chapter of their life where they're supplying, family resources, or maybe they've got a business where they want to launch something, or maybe they're looking to resolve some other financial problems of the past. So you want to look at what your financial goals are, you give your attention, and then also on Mondays, identify the 2 or 3 most leveraged actions to take to move your financial goals forward. So you can hear like focus, action. And then finally on Mondays, it's great if you have a weekly practice of that's when you look at your sales reports if you're in a business, or you do your bill paying, or you look ahead for the financial obligations that you might have. But there's something, I'll just ask the room. If you're doing that every Monday, what does it give you? Great gratitude and focus. Yeah. Absolutely, people will feel, thank you for that. Absolutely, people feel like that sense of like on Mondays, if I've got this focused bounded attention, what I'm doing is I'm really building my wealth through the action of giving my attention, giving financially. So that creates this sense of like action moving forward. Then there's Faithful Friday. Don't skip Faithful Friday. Faithful Friday is the time of receptivity. Faithful Friday is when you look back over your week and you give a definite appreciation for how the divine has already been showing up in your money life. So for many people, they're working with like a spiritual quality, like freedom or power with their financial goals. So you look back on Fridays and you say, where did freedom show her beauty to me? How did power show up for me? So maybe if you're a business owner who's looking to do grow your business through sales and marketing and networking, maybe power is your quality, and you look back over the week and you say, I went to a networking thing. I introduced myself powerfully to 3 different people, and then I made my prospecting follow-up phone calls. And see, I can trust myself and have faith that the divine is showing up for me with my money. So you've got to have that like receptivity that says, see, it's happening. The other part of Faithful Friday is to look at how God and the divine shows up, and to also look at, see, my financial goals are coming true. Because sometimes what happens is people will wait till the end. Like, let me look at my numbers at the end of the month and see what happens with my money. Now, there's something kind of beautiful in the mystical thing of like, let me pray, surrender, and be delighted and surprised. I mean, that's still in there. And for many people who want to have a more engaged experience with their money, it's really great on Fridays to have this deliberate time of receptivity. So what would it be? What would you get out of that if every Friday you were having Faithful Friday, receptive practice about your money life? So what does that bring? Call out a word or phrase. Great. Encouragement. And joy. Absolutely. And confidence. Yeah. So thank you for that. So those 2 practices, Money Monday, action, Faithful Friday, receptivity, start to build this weekly time of momentum and practice. And for many people, it's like that's, quote, all it takes to get this feeling like I've got my money life connected to my spiritual life. Yeah. So you sort of feel that, like if you're the meaning maker in your money life and you have a really enriched relationship to source and channel, and you've got weekly practices, can you feel individually like how beneficial that would be to you? Yeah, sure. It's like individually that benefits us. And what's so powerful about this teaching, religious science, is that individual encouragement and joy and action and transformation is valuable. And because we're connected, it makes a difference to the whole. So we have this wonderful quote from Dr. Ernest Holmes. I love this one. It's from this thing called You. Dr. Holmes says, you rob no person when you discover your own good. You limit no person when you express a greater degree of livingness. You harm no one by being happy. You steal from no one by being prosperous. You hinder no person's evolution when you consciously enter into the kingdom of your good and possess it today. Isn't that beautiful? Yeah. There's something about that to me, it's really what this teaching, it's the next level of this teaching. It's like we're not just here to maximize and comfort ourselves, and we're not just here to be friendly with each other. I mean, those things, do that. Comfort, maximize yourself, be friendly with each other, and then let's remember that because we're connected to the whole, we are making a difference to the world. And then when we really understand that, we start to be part of the energy that lifts up the whole. So you kind of feel that energy. Instead of the world tightening its belt, we're lifting things up together. Yeah. All right. So beautiful to be with you all today. I know that one of the things that Reverend Jill likes to do is to conclude her talks with, like, how do you put this into practice? So I have 3 tips for you to practice these principles. Number 1, you will manage the meaning. You're going to have to, yeah, cool. All right, there we go. Number 1, Choose the meaning that you make about money in every transaction and decision this week. So I just invite you, it's like whether you're brunching with somebody or whether you're, paying a bill or whether you're collecting from a big client, is when that transaction's happening this week, just say like, ooh, I'm the meaning maker in my money life, and see what meaning that you're making in terms of like the transactions that are happening. And then bless the spiritual source behind your favorite material channel. So if you've got a gorgeous, generous lover who's part of your material channels, just say, baby, I love you as a material channel, but I know I'm grateful for the spiritual source. So really feel that, and particularly if there's a material channel that you just love, and even if there's a material channel you worry about a little bit, like really just consciously. And then number 3, this is practice your Money Monday for focus and your Faithful Friday for faith to activate those qualities within you. So we'll let everybody, this is great, everyone's taking a picture of the screen, which is good, put it into action. And that'll be, and we'll make sure if somebody's got that, post it on Facebook too, for sure. For your good. So that's our message. You're the meaning maker about money. We have a unity with a spiritual source, and we've got practices every week to create the sense of money momentum. Yes? Yes. All right. Well, let us pray about this together. So relax the body, close the eye. Oh. So how grateful I am that this beautiful spiritual community is already in such a celebration of practicing the principles of abundance as and in our money life. So I just recognize that infinite, creative, loving, giving spiritual source, one power, one life, one, as me, Karen, and as every beautiful being connected to this wonderful community and service and moment. So I just give thanks to recognize our oneness with each other, with Reverend Jill and Reverend Glenn, with practitioners and the service members and board and community, to the folks who are here in the room, to those who are watching our videos, to everyone that we are connected to, our clients, our families, our neighbors, our world. And feeling and knowing our oneness with the whole, I'm so grateful to speak a word this day, anchoring what we have worked with. I accept that we thrive. I accept that we are practicers of abundance with our money, with our material channels, with our weekly practices. What I claim and know is that each beloved individual here is in practice and making a difference to the whole. So I give thanks for the good of God revealed. I know that this prayer is manifest by the action of law. I release it, I trust, I let it go. We let God be God, and together we say, and so it is.
About a year ago, I was back home on the farm in Ohio, and